As we get deeper and deeper into the first season of WandaVision, everybody is looking to what happens beyond just the confines of WandaVision and how everything is going to have a ripple effect through Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3. And some people are already speculating, since we're getting different versions of multiverse characters in those films, that the overarching narrative of the multiverse might actually be a complete House of M. So there's a lot of theories, naturally, with WandaVision, the future of the MCU, as there always has been when it comes to the MCU, and pretty much anything at this point could be right or it could be way off. We just have no idea, and at this point, I won't be shocked if we end WandaVision and we still have more questions than we have actual answers to it, because there's going to be a lot that transitions over into Doctor Strange and into Spider-Man 3, and beyond those, because Kevin Feige said it will stretch out beyond what we've seen that's been announced so far. Now, one big theory is that we're seeing small elements of House of M placed throughout WandaVision, but where we're actually going to get the full-on effect is through the rest of the multiverse films, and as those sort of elements start to peek into the core MCU world we're exploring, and then full-on embracing that world, possibly in Doctor Strange, maybe some elements of it in Spider-Man, or maybe even a whole House of M film down the road that they haven't announced. We just have no idea. And this is one of those things where it seems so ambitious that it sounds crazy, but at the same time, it doesn't really sound too outlandish. Like, we have no idea, but maybe there's a Marvel Studios House of M film that they haven't announced yet, because we still have 4 films for 2023 that we have no idea what the hell they are, and we know that Disney's already planning 3 to 5 films every year after that, so there's a lot of space to cover and there's a lot of ground to cover when it comes to the multiverse, and House of M would be an interesting concept, because with that idea, they could introduce us to the mutants, they could introduce us to all of those aspects, and then fully backtrack, see what works, what fans love, what fans want to keep, what works, and then just bring those elements into the MCU proper. I mean, they could even go as far as putting House of M elements into Deadpool 3, and tying it up with that franchise and those X-Men and some of those actors who have contracts left over, tying that up, putting Wanda or Doctor Strange in that one, or bringing Deadpool and those elements into the multiverse and seeing it play out that way, and then completely resetting the X-Men over in the MCU, but using some elements that work. Again, it's the multiverse, so anything is really possible, and this theory does seem to be something that a lot of fans want to happen, but my sort of objection is that I think I want the X-Men to be completely rebooted from the ground up and not touch elements of this insane multiverse continuity that didn't make sense over at Fox. Like, it's great if you choose to reboot, because then it's a clean-cut slate and you don't have to acknowledge anything, and it's great if you want to bring in some of those characters for cameos or maybe an extended subplot in one of the films and touch upon House of M there, but beyond that, I honestly think it would hurt everybody in the MCU more than it would help them, because then fans would just demand that you de-age everybody, and at that point, are you really going to spend $1 billion de-aging every single person from the original X-Men films for every single film? Probably not. Let's start with a clean slate. If they do House of M and it's a small subplot, sure, that works, but you can't make them or those old X-Men the focal point of an entire film, because that takes away from the MCU.